and I'm back with another part of the Photoshop series. Today we're going to learn how to add text to an image, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the open button over here, and the past few weeks what we've been doing is going down and clicking new blank file, but this time we want to bring a picture in, so you're going to push open. And you're going to go and you're going to find a picture. I'll choose this one. This is a picture of my sister, and we're going to add text to it. So the trick to adding text to your image is you don't want it to be overpowering. You want the image to stand out, but you want the image to be the main focus. Your subject or whatever is in the picture to be the focus, not the text. So the best way to achieve this is by making it smaller, maybe a little not super crazy fonts, and we'll kind of go into more of that later on. So I'm going to start by typing stuff in. So type in this. And I didn't really like the white a lot, so I decided to I wanted it to blend in a little more, so I decided to change the opacity. This is basically, when you change the opacity, it determines how much it shows up, how solid it is. So if it's 100%, that means it's the true color, but as you start to lower it, it gets opaque, basically. So you can see when I lower the opacity, when I move it over something that's textured, you can see that through. So you can definitely tell that it's opaque. So I'm just going to lower the opacity a tiny bit just to make it blend in a little more with the wall. And then I'm going to add some more text. And I want to change the font just because I want it to stand out a little less. So I'm going to pick this font right here. I'm going to maybe change it, space it a little more. And I'm going to make this a little bigger. A lot of times in Photoshop I go and I change things around a lot. That takes the most time of anything, just messing with it. And then I'm going to write sister, and I want sister to stand out a little. So I want to probably make it a different color, different font, whatever. So don't want it to be in capital letters. I'm just going to go down. You can try out a few different fonts. I don't remember exactly which one I use, so I'll just use this one for now. So I'm going to make that a little bigger and change the color of it too. Maybe stretch it out. With text you can stretch it both ways, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to change the color to pink. So that's good. That kind of blends in, it looks good. And I think I'm going to change the opacity of this too to make it a little stand out a little tiny bit more. So now I really like adding lines around my text because the text isn't super big, it doesn't really stand out, but it adds a little pop to make it stand out just the tiniest bit more. So I'm going to use the brown in her hair. for the lines. And for this picture, I decided to do one solid line and one dotted line. So we're going to select our background, click on the brush tool, and then do our line. And then if you want it spaced out for the dotted line, remember you have to go and space it out a little more. Oops. So this isn't perfect. This is just to show you how to do it. It's not something I probably wouldn't use this to share or whatever, just because it takes a lot longer to get it super perfect. So yeah, that's what I do, and I usually add like a watermark at the bottom so people know that it's from my blog. Yeah, whatever. It's not the right font or anything, but yeah. So another kind of nice, is kind of a basic thing to know for Photoshop, is how to merge the layers. Basically, when you merge a layer, notice when they're not merged and they're all separate. If I say I wanted to maybe move this image to another document, I have to go with the Shift key and select all these to move them. Sometimes it doesn't even work. So an easier way to do this is by merging layers. So the way that you can do this is, so let's say you just want the text to be merged together. You're going to select all the text and you're going to right click, and you can see where it should say merge layers. It doesn't, because this is text. You can only merge objects, not text. So you have to simplify the layer so it becomes objects. Then when you right click again, you can see it says merge layers and merge visible and flatten image. Since you don't want it to be merged with the background too, you're just going to push merge layers. But then let's say you actually wanted this whole image to be merged together. You're going to right click and push merge visible, and this just creates one big movable image. You can see there. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about placing your text. So I add pictures to all of my blog. I add text to all of my blog pictures, and the key to the text is you don't want it to stand out. You don't want it to be overpowering to the picture. You want it to just blend in and look like it belongs there. Also for the text, I love fonts and I try to incorporate them with my projects, but I try not to get too crazy. You just want it to be simple, and I think a really good way of doing this is with lines. So let's talk about saving pictures. It's kind of crazy, but I haven't talked about this yet, even though we're on like the 3rd week or 4th week of doing this. So you're going to go to File and Save As. And I know this, you kind of know how to save, but with Photoshop it's a little different. So you want to change your name. Probably, I've learned the hard way, you want to save your files as something that you can remember, something that has to do with it. So and you can see that the extension, the image extension is PSD. A PSD is the format where it's short for Photoshop. When you save it as a PSD, when you open that photo, it'll automatically take you into Photoshop and you'll be able to edit the image. The ones that I mainly use are Photoshop, JPEG, and PNG. So let's talk about JPEG now. So this is a JPEG or JPG, they're the same thing. So a JPEG, this is what you want to use if you want to print something out directly from your computer. So I usually, if you want to get them printed at Costco or whatever, you have to save them as a JPEG. And yeah, you just can't do it any other way. So when you have it as a JPEG, it opens it in Preview, which is on your Mac or whatever other program you have. I'm not sure what it is for Windows. And you can't edit it at all. You can just look at it. So I usually save it as both, just in case I need to go back and make any final edits. But PSD is basically for something you're not completely done with. Maybe it's an invitation and you don't have the dates yet. You're going to save that as a PSD, because when you save it as a JPEG, you can't make any changes. A PNG is very similar to a JPEG, except for if you have a transparent background, that's going to stay transparent, where if you saved it as a JPEG, that transparent background would turn white. So then push save. And for a JPEG, it's going to come up with all these options. I usually just stick with the standard ones. Push OK, and it saves it. So that's all I have today. Check back next Thursday for another edition. Thanks for watching.